We're back to give you the legal edge. There are more than 40 laws passed last year in Michigan that will take effect at some point this year. But one of the more confusing, somewhat controversial laws is the way the Michigan's Improved Workforce Opportunity Wage Act is going into effect and will affect minimum wage this year. So on January 1st, minimum wage went up to $10.10 per hour. And for people considered tipped workers, the minimum wage went up to $3.84. But as attorney Bryan Waldman from the Sinus law firm explains tonight, there's a case in our court system, now with the Court of Appeals, that could dramatically affect how minimum wage is actually applied and whether or not those are the real minimum wage rates.
There was a petition that was circulated back when this law was passed. It got enough signatures to raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour with increases over time. And there were enough signatures, and at that point, the Michigan legislature had the choice to enact the proposed ballot initiative as a law or to reject it without making modifications. If they rejected it, the voters would then get to vote on it in the next election. The legislature didn't want to take it. They disagreed. The majority of the legislature disagreed with the changes to the law, but they didn't want to take a chance and let voters vote on it either. So what they did was what the courts are now calling the adopt and amend strategy, where they enacted the legislation as contained in the ballot initiative, and then the same legislature during the same legislative session turned around and amended it so that the changes were less severe and there were less pay raises or minimum wage pay raises. And the first court to hear the case, the Court of Claims in Michigan, said this is unconstitutional. You defeat the purpose of the petition initiative in the Michigan Constitution. You've taken away from the Michigan voters and the Michigan residents the right to decide this issue by doing what's essentially an end around or this adopt and amend strategy. So it's unconstitutional. Well, that case is now with the Michigan Court of Appeals. And if the Court of Appeals that rules the same way the Court of Claims did, and I believe they had argument on it toward the end of 2023 in December, that minimum wage instead of $10.10 an hour would actually be $13.03 an hour. And I believe there'd even be a bigger impact on tipped employees. The minimum wage would go from $3.84 an hour to, I believe, $11.73 an hour. So a real big difference. A lot of people keeping an eye on this. We'll have to see what the Court of Appeals does, but the way that it's interpreted could have a dramatic effect on the way this law is actually implemented in 2023.